Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into something pretty critical today, a decision every software architect faces sooner or later,
Yeah, it's a big one.
picking the right headless CMS.
Absolutely. And there are tons of options out there, but
Right, tons of options, but today we're focusing on two of the biggest names in the game, Contentful and Strapi.
yeah, these are the heavy hitters, the ones you see on every shortlist.
Exactly. And by the end of this, by the end of this deep dive, you should have a good idea of which platform best fits, best fits your needs as an
Right.
architect.
Fits your architectural vision,
Yeah, exactly.
your blueprints.
Blueprints, love it. Okay, so before we get into the nuts and bolts, real quick, for anyone who might be new to the whole headless CMS world,
Right.
just a super quick definition. Basically, it's a way to manage your content, text, images, all that stuff, separately from how it's displayed.
Separating the back end from the front end.
Yep. So you've got all this content sitting there, ready to be delivered to your website, your mobile app, anything with an API.
So it gives you a ton of flexibility.
Tons. You're not tied to a specific platform or technology.
And that's key for us as architects.
100%.
Yeah.
So with that out of the way, let's get into the real meat of this. Should we start with hosting? I mean, that's the most fundamental difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right off the bat, you've got a major architectural decision.
Yeah.
Self-hosted with Strapi.
Like rolling your own.
Exactly. You're setting up servers, you're managing deployments, security updates, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, if the server goes down at 3:00 a.m., you're the one getting that phone call.
Right. But on the flip side, you've got Contentful.
The all-inclusive resort of the CMS world.
I like that analogy. It's a fully managed SaaS solution.
They take care of all the infrastructure.
You just focus on building your content and your application.
So it's really about control versus convenience, isn't it?
That's the core trade-off, I think. With Strapi, you have ultimate control.
But it comes with a responsibility.
For sure, you're responsible for security, for scalability, for everything.
And with Contentful, you get that peace of mind knowing they've got a team of experts handling all that.
And they have the resources to invest in robust security measures and scalable infrastructure.
Which, let's be honest, is not always easy to do on your own, especially if you're a smaller team or you're working with a tighter budget.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So let's say you're comfortable with the whole self-hosting thing. You're ready to get your hands dirty. Where does Strapi shine in terms of content modeling?
Oh, it's incredibly flexible. Think of it like a blank canvas.
You can build whatever you want.
Pretty much. You define your content types, your fields, your relationships, everything.
So if you have a very specific, very unique content structure in mind,
Strapi lets you build it exactly the way you need it.
but that much freedom can also be daunting, right? I mean, if
Right.
you're new to Strapi, where do you even start?
Yeah, there is a learning curve. And for some teams, that might be a deal breaker.
Especially if you have non-technical content editors who need to use the system.
Right, and that's where Contentful can really shine. Their approach to content modeling is more structured.
So you're not starting from scratch.
Exactly. You have predefined content types and fields, which can be a huge time saver. And it makes the whole system easier to learn and use, even for non-developers.
Okay, so Contentful gives you a bit more guidance, a bit more structure, but doesn't that limit your options?
It can. And that's the trade-off you have to consider. If you need a completely bespoke content model, Strapi might be the better fit.
But for a lot of projects, I imagine Contentful's structure is actually a benefit. It helps you get up and running faster.
And their interface is very user-friendly, so even non-technical folks can get in there and manage content without feeling overwhelmed.
So content modeling, check.
Yeah.
Let's move on to APIs and integrations. This is where things get interesting.
Yeah, because both platforms have got you covered. They both offer GraphQL and REST APIs.
So you've got flexibility in how you integrate your content into your applications.
But there's a nuance here. While both offer GraphQL, Contentful's implementation is really powerful.
In what way?
Well, it allows for much more complex queries. You can fetch deeply nested data, you can get related content all in one go.
So fewer requests, better performance.
Exactly. And for complex applications, that can make a huge difference.
And Contentful also has a big advantage when it comes to pre-built integrations. They have a whole ecosystem of plugins and extensions that connect with all sorts of other tools.
Right. So if you're using something like, say, Salesforce or Shopify, there's a good chance Contentful has a pre-built integration that will save you a ton of development time.
So again, it's about that balance. Strapi gives you the control to build your own integrations.
But Contentful might already have what you need ready to go.
Which leads us to another crucial aspect, performance.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how great your CMS is if it slows your application down to a crawl.
And I think it's fair to say that Contentful, as a mature SaaS platform, has a bit of an edge here.
I'd agree with that. They have a global CDN, they have optimized servers, and they offer built-in caching.
So content is delivered quickly, no matter where your users are in the world,
With Strapi, you're responsible for setting up your own caching mechanisms.
which can be a good thing, if you need that fine-grained control.
Absolutely. You can really fine-tune your caching strategy to match your application's needs, but it does require more effort.
And more expertise.
Exactly. You need to understand how caching works, how to configure it properly, and so on.
So, yet again, that trade-off emerges. Convenience versus control. And speaking of control, let's talk about customization.
Ah, yes. The playground of the open source world.
This is where Strapi really shines. I mean, it's
Good.
open source, so you can modify it to your heart's content.
You want to extend the core functionality, build a custom plugin. Go for it.
The sky's the limit.
Pretty much. Contentful, on the other hand, takes a more curated approach.
Yeah, they give you a set of tools, and you work within those boundaries.
You can configure those tools, you can customize the appearance, but you're not going to be rewriting the core platform.
Right. So if you need something truly unique, something that falls outside of Contentful's pre-built framework,
You're probably going to hit a wall eventually.
and that you might wish you had gone with Strapi. But again, that flexibility comes with a cost.
More development time, more complexity, more potential for things to go wrong.
And that brings us to the ever-important question of budget.
Ah, yes. The
No.
bottom line.
Well, Strapi is open source, so technically you can use it for free. But of course, you have to factor in the cost of hosting, development time, all of that.
Right. And those costs can add up quickly, especially if you're building something complex.
Contentful, on the other hand, is subscription-based.
You pay a monthly fee depending on your usage and the features you need.
So it's a more predictable cost, but it's not necessarily cheaper.
And there's another factor to consider here, the community.
Ah, yes, the community.
Yeah.
Always important in the open source world.
Absolutely. Strapi has a huge and very active community of developers who are constantly sharing knowledge, building plugins, helping each other out.
So if you run into a problem, there's a good chance someone else has already solved it and documented it online.
Exactly. And that can be invaluable, especially when you're working with a new technology.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about hosting, content modeling, APIs, performance, customization, cost, community.
That's a lot to take in, right?
It is, but I think the takeaway here is that there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Exactly. The best choice for you is going to depend entirely on your specific needs and your specific project.
And I think it comes down to a fundamental philosophical question.
Oh, I like that.
Do you, as an architect, embrace the freedom and the flexibility and the potential chaos of open source?
Or do you prefer the stability and the support and the slightly less exciting world of a mature SaaS platform?
I think that's a question every software architect needs to ask themselves.
And there's no right or wrong answer.
Exactly. It's about finding the right fit for your team, for your project, for your own architectural philosophy. So if you're still on the fence, I encourage you to dive deeper.
Yeah, play around with both platforms. Spin up a Strapi instance. Take Contentful for a test drive. See what feels right.
And see which platform best aligns with your architectural vision. And on that note, we'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And until next time, happy architecting.
Happy architecting.